Requiem for London. Tonight we set our scene in the borough of Camden, famous for its markets and for its standing amongst the arts. Our scene takes place within one of these many artistic venues. The simply named Camden Theatre. A once slowly eroding, dying venue, it has since become a standout amongst Camden's and London's theatrical scene. Hosting all of the classics to more contemporary and experimental, dramas and screenplays. Tonight, however, the theatre is close for business. The only sign of any life inside the occasional staff member walking from one end of the foyer to another. It is here that the Primogen and the Baroness has arranged to meet with good old Benjamin. Benjamin, how do you arrive to the theatre?
I mean, he'll arrive as he normally does. He'll probably just. How far is Camden from Richmond upon Thames? Curiosity.
Richmond upon Thames is quite far away.
Okay.
In London, at least in regards to like London's space. Like Camden is smack dab in the middle of the city, slightly to the north.
Okay. And then Richmond's kind of like off on the west side.
Richmond is on the southwest.
Southwest, yeah. Ugh. Regardless, Ben at this point is just walking up to the building with whatever mode of transportation, dropping him off a ways away, just to kind of keep anybody watching guessing. Yeah, he's dressed a bit nicer tonight. He's in a dress shirt, slacks, dress shoes, with some suspenders.
Well dressed for Benjamin.
Yeah.
The theatre itself is one of the more modern-looking theatres in London. It's a rather blocky looking building, but the front has a sort of large, bright um, overhang with the words Camden Theatre on it and bright lights that seem to still be on despite the theatre having been shut. If you peer inside, you can see the little ticket booths and a rather done up foyer. Looks quite upper scale. Quite clean and sleek. I presume you knock on the door.
Yeah, Ben will knock on the door.
As you knock, um, it'll take about half a minute. A couple of staff members notice you, but don't approach you.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't appear like there's many members of staff inside. Seems to be a skeleton crew. Think you see the same person walking across the foyer like 3 times. Um, but after about half a minute, you see a young waifish woman, um, dark, dark skin and pitch black hair approach you. I'll actually show you a face claim. When you see her, you immediately recognize the beast inside of her.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely looking at a kindred.
Yep.
And she will, with the turn of a key, unlock the door for you.
Benjamin will give a slight nod. Thank you. And he'll head on in.
Um, as you go to walk in, she sort of, with perhaps alacrity that is a little bit startling, puts a hand on your shoulder
Mm-hmm.
and to stop you, and says, "Well, not so fast, there, cowboy. What's your name?"
Benjamin Smith.
"What you doing here, Benjamin Smith?"
Here to talk with Baron Python, or Primogen Python. I'm not sure which title supersedes the other. Anyways, pedantics. We talked about a issue that has befallen both her domain and the domain of the Carthians.
Right, that's good. She'll close the door behind her. We're probably going to get along like fire hoses then. Jenna.
Nice to meet you. He'll extend a hand for a handshake.
You'll shake it. Sanctified, child of Joshua.
Baneforth?
Yeah.
Was that his last name? Ah, I met Charlie years ago, one of his other childhood.
Yeah, she's not in town anymore. It's a shame.
Yeah, I've heard.
Anyway, you wanted to meet with the lady in charge. I suppose her title depends on who you are. I just call her Bishop.
Fair enough. Is there any preferential title that she prefers?
What's my
Or,
knowledge?
fair enough. Thought I'd ask.
That's appreciated. I'm sure she'll. I'm sure she'll take note of her respect.
Let's get this show on the road then.
Yeah. Uh, that. She'll take you down uh, through uh, through the main fiddle hall. You see all of the seats, the stage. Looks all very well put together. See some of the old props still on the stage. Uh, looks like there was a big show here a few nights ago. Looks like it involved a lot of gymnastics or acrobatics from what you can see. Lots of wires. She'll take you round the back. And then into her office. Where there is a lovely old lady waiting in a wheelchair behind the desk.
Mm-hmm.
Alongside a familiar looking face and a very familiar looking glare of Helene,
Oh, nice.
who stands at her side, watching you like a hawk. Just put both their face claims up for you.
Ben will give a nod to Halim and yes, Halim, it's a pleasure to see you again. And it's a pleasure to be meeting with you, Primogen Python. And he'll extend a hand for a handshake for Miss Python.
Ah, ever so good to see you again, Benji. How are the nights treating you?
They've been exciting, to say the least. They haven't been treating me particularly bad, all things considered. But the horizon in general isn't looking the greatest.
With no sun to look out to, it really does.
Yeah.
But surely it's not all doom and gloom, as you suggest.
No, of course. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. It's just there's been, on top of what we're here to talk about, I'm sure that word about the CTC has spread. It goes a lot deeper than what my initial assumption was. In fact, me and my coterie are planning on meeting with the prince to have the information properly disseminated, as it was my coterie's decision.
Well, not for you then. The king is, I understand, rarely takes visitors or holds an audience outside of Elysium. He's difficult to
Yeah,
get in touch with these nights.
he certainly is. Uh, it with the information gathered, it's important to work with expediency.
I couldn't help but notice all of the ominous happenings occurring around the domain recently. It appears that this hunter hunter group is much more pervasive than we initially understood.
Yes. It's also just not the CTC. There's another group in that they're affiliated with. However, we do not have much information on them at the moment. They were referred to in by code for obvious reasons.
That doesn't surprise me. We do the same
Yeah.
most of the time. There is a
Yep.
reason why the testaments refer to the masquerade as one of the highest of all laws that we must follow. It's not simply because it is a tradition amongst our kind. Many of my sect would argue our laws came first. Well, I am not sure I agree.
Ben will nod in agreement. Yes.
Did you did you come here to simply do me the favor of warning me about a group of witch hunters in advance, or did you perhaps have more you wish to discuss with me?
There was more. I was just that was something that was pretty pervasive, and is important. If you need, I can present you with some of the information given. That way you can work ahead on at least trying to keep everybody secure as a show of good faith.
I would be very grateful, Benjamin. Thank you.
I'll give a nod to Miss Python. No. However, I've come to realize that both the Carthians and the Lankaea, and I am. Hold on. Let me double check something. That we're experiencing the same issue in regards to a good deal of foreclosures. Within our territories.
Yes,
Especially.
normally I would pay it very little mind, after all. It is by and large a human affair, kindred strings included or not. I do not seek to police the whole economy of my domain, but I have had many kindred of my court coming to me these nights, speaking of how their havens and homes are under threat. Why, even this very theatre has been at risk of repossession. Cannot help but think it is a targeted assault on my bishopric, my barony, this community. That is deeply concerning to me.
Yes. I have done some digging.
As you always do.
Yes. It's Millennium Finance. The company that Primogen Folks has a large stake in.
She taps her head once, twice, 3 times, if just recalling the term, the name. Ah, yes, I do recall. The Primogen. I suppose I should have suspected as such, but in remarkable poor taste to attack the church. Then I suppose little is, in many ways, for the wanton and the selfish. It appears the Primogen may have a little bit of black tomb left in him. Something I had hoped and prayed the victors would have purged themselves over 10 years ago. I had believed they had. Yet here they are, seeking to wage some sort of conflict on the sanctum once more.
Yes. It seems the firm old habits die hard. Unfortunately.
One would think the Primogen would be happy as everything he could possibly want, and an eternity to waste with it. Why do you come to me knowing this? You have your own agenda, just like the Primogen, do you not? Oh, oh, oh. Is this me or him? No. Ben, yeah, if you're talking, I can't hear you. Liam. Liam. There you go.
Give me 1 second. Can you hear me, Chris?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, sorry about that. There's been storms in the area, so it's been messing with the Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Where did you,
Primogen Python finished speaking about, because I said, sort of old habits die hard, then she had a little spiel about, like, he has an eternity to do whatever he wants, yada, yada, yada.
oh yeah, she says, catch up. She says, she said, that, yeah, it seems like he had, a little bit of black team left in him, considering, he, appeared to want to attack the holdings of the church.
Hmm.
She does have a say, but why do you, come to me knowing this? You have your own agenda, like the Primogen, do you not?
Yes, at least in a matter of speaking. I personally agree that this is, I personally believe that this is in incredibly poor taste, at least on his behalf. And with the Carthians reintegrating into the domain, I think it would be, since we have this common ground, at least something that we would want to have changed, I think it would be beneficial for us to work together. There's only so much disparate that only one group of kindred can accomplish. Having each other's perspectives might help us bring an end to this matter. I'm personally not somebody to watch younger kindred such as myself get trampled by those who wield their power like that in the way that Fox is. especially in times like this.
I can only imagine the movement has been having to deal with this, with the Primogen's aggressive sense of economics for much longer than we have.
Yes.
Well, then, what do you propose be done, Benjamin?
This is so I have a question. How much power does a baron hold in this system of baronies?
Politically, they're effectively the prince of the territory administered to them by the prince, or by the king and queen.
Okay.
So, um, it's sort of like how an actual feudal nation works, basically. You have
Right.
the barons, and then you have the king and the queen on top. Uh,
Okay.
so they are the barons of their given domain. They what they say goes. They often have their
Hmm.
own enforcers and their own particular laws within those areas.
Hmm.
Um, most of them follow a rough outline of the three traditions, but they're all
Hmm.
slightly different in their own ways.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, they effectively run a large area on behalf of the king and queen.
Hmm.
It normally applies to larger domains or to princes who have decided to branch beyond one domain and have decided to rule multiple cities.
Hmm.
It's usually a mindset that's most common with the Invictus. It's not exclusive to them, though.
Right. Right.
So, yeah. Outside of their territories, one could argue they hold no real power, and to an extent that's true, but the title of Baron holds significant weight on and of itself. They're a figure trusted to run a large domain by the king and the queen. It's not a small thing.
Hmm.
They would definitely be if they were to get into an argument with another kindred, one would always expect the Baron to be given uh, given greater standing and benefit of the doubt than the lesser one that the lesser kindred that they're arguing with. The Baron is always held
Hmm.
in high standing by the king and the queen, or at least it's expected that they are.
Right.
One can't really imagine many reasons to give a domain to somebody that you hate, so
Hmm.
they all hold significant favor and influence politically and presumably in the mortal world, although it's not necessary in theory.
Okay. I got you. I got you. I know that also the same thing is happening within Illingdon with Primogen Fur. We all have a lot of, at least with this particular issue, we have a lot of common ground. We could, with the Carthians now getting a place within the system of baronies, we could use that weight to try and get Primogen folks to back off.
I see. And how would you go about doing so? He is, after all, a privileged and a difficult man to move at the best of times. After all, he is, she smiles, a capitalist.
I'm not sure how high public opinion would be of him when, during a hunter crisis, he has begun stripping uh, kindreds from their havens as a start. Me, I'm just having a brain fart. Can I make a roll to see where it would be best to attack, or at least make folks to move, sort of deal?
Um, yeah, maybe intelligence politics roll. I'll give you -2 dice because you don't have a lot of information on folks as an individual or as barony.
That is entirely fair.
So,
So, like, intelligence politics. I will spend a willpower here. That's 3, 3, 1. Do you have a specialty in politics? Can't remember. I don't think I do. Oh, it's a success.
what do you get?
I got a
Okay.
single success here.
Okay. Then you know that folks is rich. Uh, in terms of mortal politics, influential. Has a lot of backing from his covenant. And is old enough that he's not immediately written off as an upstart neonate.
Mm-hmm.
You are correct in that he isn't very popular outside of his covenant. Many view him as walking, talking stereotype for an Invictus tyrant. When looking at other barons, many kindred find them more palatable, even though the Primogen has a lot to offer. He is known for rewarding loyal followers as well, but many question the ethics of his rule. So as you say, he's not the most popular kindred in town.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a lot of opposition outside of his covenant. Not necessarily within his domain, but definitely outside of his covenant. It is perhaps where he is weakest. He has a lot of backing from his covenant, from the Invictus, unsurprisingly.
Mm-hmm.
And being a major stakeholder of Millennium Finance, he has an enormous, one might even say near infinite degree of mortal wealth. He would have more wealth than he could ever even possibly hope to spend. And you're not sure as to the scale of all of his investments within the city, or outside of it. Likely many. It is well known that he uses it to ensure that his dirty work gets done. Money is a very potent tool when applied properly.
Okay. I believe that finding some way to highlight his more tyrannical nature
Pardon?
and sort of no, he's Ben's it's just me trying to figure out a plan on the spot. Fuck. Then that Primogen Fox isn't particularly popular outside of this covenant, since he mostly gets by on the fact, well, one of his greatest strengths is that he has a lot of money. Figuring out where that money goes, first off, would be a good start of well, how that money is moved around the city would be a good way of figuring out how to better attack him, at least on that aspect. But in terms of kindred politics, if faced with significant, I feel like you're saying the same thing. If there's significant opposition from the outside, there isn't much that he can do. You know, and given, fuck, given that, if his capacity to get others to do his dirty work was, i.e., via money, was weakened, he would have less effectiveness to rule, which would give everybody else the opportunity to push him around.
You seek to bankrupt a banker.
Not necessarily bankrupt him, per se, just, oh, well, no, yes. Give me a second, Chris, on my brain. My brain smooth. We want to be able to put him into a position where even if he is handing out money, his more tyrannical nature is still very present. We have to highlight that that is unbearable to start to get him to move. We have to try and shift. We have to make it seem that him giving out money isn't as important as the way that he is and the way that he rules. If that makes any sense.
You have a very roundabout way of explaining yourself, Benjamin, but I believe I understand what you are saying.
Thank you.
She gives you a smile as sweet as a strawberry.
Okay, can I roll insight just to make sure that it came? She's just bullshitting me.
Sure.
Sure. I like the enthusiasm of that. Sure. God, hold on.
It's wits plus empathy.
Yeah. Maybe 8. A single success. Bada bing.
She appears to be completely genuine.
Fair enough.
Might I suggest uncovering some larger scale
Sure.
evidence of the Primogen's plans for the domain?
Sure.
As a Primogen myself, I don't really appreciate what he is attempting to do here. I do not believe that he is acting in the best interests of the domain or our community at large. I believe, like many of his stature, he is attempting to benefit himself at the expense of others. And it is not in the spirit of the Primogen Council that the king formed so many years ago in the ashes of one of the domain's bloodiest conflicts. I would wish not to see a return to such wanton bloodshed. It is how these things always start. A kindred overreaching just ever so slightly. It is something the testaments warn against. It speaks of such kindred. Our capacity for power is not something to be indulged in casually. Personal damnation is not the focus of our kind. Although it does seem to so often end up as the reality, tragically. But perhaps that is the great test that is put before us. I am glad to see so far, Benjamin, that you appear to be passing.
Thank you.
Flying colours, I might add.
Yes, in all honesty, after that conflict, a lot of what happened and what I had to do, I don't know. I guess it's never sat well with me. At least I hope I try my own way to better our community at large.
I'm glad to hear. As one of the movement's neighbours, it was a shame to see your sect for such a long time struggle to keep itself together with naught but a skeleton crew of counselors. Did you know I was paid a visit by your judge the other evening?
That sounds like velvet. I didn't know that, but
I had a wonderful chat with her concerning the Carthian's future. She seemed quite intriguing. It's been some time since one among your number has reached out to us with such open arms.
hopefully this can be the new standard.
I very much hope it is. But yes, if you could please find me something definitive regarding Millennium's inappropriate endeavors. While I do trust your word, I would not wish to leverage accusations against a primogen without something to lend
More
it weight.
tangible.
Of course.
Of course. Of course. I'll get working on that right away.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Preferably before Elysium, if you would.
All right. That's doable.
I would be very disappointed in you, Benjamin, if you considered it not. You are, after all, a man with a reputation, and
Yes, I am.
reputations must be upheld.
Of course. Yeah. He'll give a smile. Sort of like sly Carthian sort of grin, like a little devious.
Mm.
In a playful sort of way. Like not anything too sinister.
You want to roll me a wit sympathy check real quick? Minus
Sure.
3 dice.
I'm in the wrong server. Hold on. Minus 3 dice. That puts me at 5. I'm gonna spend a willpower for rote. What the fuck?
Oh, you notice Jenna for whatever reason, is giving a rather flat, sardonic smile.
Hmm. That's sardonic, right?
Pardon?
No, you said sardonic, right?
Sardonic, yes, like sarcastic.
Oh, she's just mocking me.
Yeah, sure.
Said you're not sure.
Yeah, if you're giving it's definitely it definitely looks a little bit mocking.
That was a big oof on my dice roll. Fuck me. We'll sort of just give. He'll give Jenna a look. Like, I see you.
Is there anything else you would like to discuss, Benjamin?
No, I think that's all I had for tonight. Uh, Hold on, and Ben will sort of he'll like pass her like just a quick little like note of some of the kindred who are known. Just sort of like a little tally of information that he got from that, just so that way Primogen Python can work off that.
Oh, pardon?
No, he more or less just hands her like a list of the kindred who've been affected by, or at least within her covenant territory area by the
Yeah.
CTC issue as a show of good faith.
Oh. Oh, and any information you have regarding these hunters would be most appreciated.
I'll let you know as soon as I learn more.
So, you already stated a lot of information, right?
Yeah, he gave her the gist. He just more or less gives her the list of like kindred who are affected. That way she can know.
Okay.
Yeah, or at least the kindred within her own domain.
Yeah. I'd say you give it a full. You don't really have a good idea of like how many kindred, because that don't require knowing where everybody lives. You don't really have a good idea of where everybody lives.
Yeah, I give her like the gist of the. Yeah, then I could just give her the gist then. Yeah, which I technically already did. So, or at least like the notable kindred. Like, hey, here are some people. You know, at least that he knows offhand. Just to
Yeah.
kind of help out. Yeah, yeah. So then I imagine at this point Ben will be let out.
Yes. By Jenna.
Yeah. Ben will appreciate your time. Baron Python, Primogen Python. Again, nice seeing you again, Helene. And he will begin to
Absolute
walk on.
pleasure. You should really come to mass sometime.
The last big mass I considered going, I was dead stop busy that day.
Well, we have midnight mass every Sunday.
All right, I'll keep that in mind. He'll give a soft smile and bow and head out at that.
think with that, can end our scene right there. Thank you for playing. Thank you watchers watching. We'll see you all next time. And good night.
Good.